Battle of Britain is on. Goering is pouring his air force across in waves to try and break our spirit. All Britain is in the front line, but someone must be the outpost. Let's see what it's like to live within sight of German-occupied France.
You didn't have a normal childhood because you couldn't go anywhere and you were short food all the time anyway.
No, I wasn't around during the war, really. I was alive.
Yeah.
Whereas
I was born in 36, so Dunkirk was what, 41?
Yeah.
I'd have only been about 5 years old, and I wasn't the slightest bit interested in. I might have heard the radio just talking about things, but at 5 years old, you don't really know where Dunkirk is, do you?
I didn't see the small ships actually going, but we did see the soldiers coming back when they discharged from the boats. A lot of them had got a lot of injuries, and there were women down there giving them tea and sandwiches or something to eat, but that's all I remember about Dunkirk.
Of course, with all this happening, Dover hasn't escaped untouched, although the damage is amazingly small.
Me and my wife was in the shelter when the shell burst 2 yards behind, and we're quite safe. And now we're carrying on down the road. I like to come in and keep the garden going, but the missus says the beans are awful dusty, they want a lot of washing these days.
My dad built a bomb shelter in the back garden. You dig a hole and you put corrugated iron over the top of the hole and you cover it up with soil, and that is your underground shelter. Or the alternative is the Morrison shelter, which was inside the front bedroom. It was a steel framework with wire netting round the sides and a strong sheet metal top across the top. The idea being that if the house fell down, it wouldn't get through the tube, but it'd be a bit dusty. And it was I wouldn't have wanted to be stuck in one. I never knew anybody personally who had their house knocked down while they were there. So there was no test of it. Really.
Yeah, you didn't, but my grandmother did.
Possibly.
The ones we used to have in the garden, they were just like it was an Anderson shelter, and we used to have one when we lived in Wyndham Road, but me and Uncle David used to sit with the door open a little bit and see the planes get caught in the searchlights, but they were quite comfortable inside. There was enough room for a couple of small beds. Yeah.
My grandmother, my mother's mother, she lived in Canterbury Road no, not in Canterbury Road then, she was in Dover Road. She lived there with her second husband and Aunt Edna. And that house was knocked down, and there was a fireplace there, say, and Grandma was sitting there, because Grandma had rheumatoid arthritis ever so bad. You weren't treated in those days, all her hands were swollen, and she couldn't move unless someone moved her. And all the house fell down, all except in that little corner, and Aunt Edna threw herself over her mother to stop her getting, you know. Joanna's nan and I, we were evacuated to the New Forest, and my father joined the Navy. Lots of people of my age were evacuated to Wales. Lots of them, and others went to Australia, didn't they?
There were one or two in the Hawkins village, but I can't remember who they were. I just knew that one or two of them had been evacuated, but they came back well before the end of the war.
Yeah, well,
I didn't know anybody who were.
Well, some of my classmates went to Wales, but I never knew them till we got to secondary school age when they came back.
A couple of my friends did. They they went over towards Wales, I think, but I never saw them after that, so I don't know whether they stayed there, but we stayed in Dover.
But let's hear what the inhabitants of Dover have got to say.
This is a pretty cushy job. We keep a lookout for damage, but there isn't much of that. I can usually hear Jerry leaving the other side. We watch out for him. And as for the shells, well, we see a flash, count 60, there she is.
I lived right outside the boundary of Hawkinge Aerodrome, so we could look right across, and there was quite a bit of effect up there.
Yeah.
And some of the buildings up the road were bombed, but none of the houses up the road where I lived were actually bombed.
Well, look.
There was a few bomb holes in the airfield occasionally. There's a hangar just out the back of us, and I think that was okay.
There was one bomb dropped at the end of our road that blew all our windows out, and then this was when we lived at Tower Hill, and then we had two more dropped there, one in Tower Street which blew all our windows and the back door in, and then a few days after that one there was another one dropped the other side of the road, and where our windows had all been boarded up it was all blown out again. So it was quite frightening. We always used to be under the kitchen table.
Have you got any questions about doodlebugs?
There was lots were bombed down near the fish market in Folkestone. Loads and loads and loads of them. It was horrible.
That was shelling as well. You don't know which was which, do you?
Oh no,
Yeah.
no, I wasn't there.
That's what I
I was
mean.
too young anyway.
They were a flying bomb. They didn't have any wheels. They launched them off a ramp, and there was a gyroscope set in them, and that held sent a little signal through the battery to the controls, and that held the direction, and the height was controlled by the usual aeroplane system, the altimeter that controlled the height, and they just flew in a straight line until their engine cut out, and the noise of the doodlebug is something you can never forget. It's like a vibration more than a roar of an engine. And it was very, very distinctive, and you could see people listening to it, and as long as the noise kept going, it didn't matter. The doodlebug was going over the top and going somewhere else. But if it stopped, you'd all be very wary of where it was going to come down. So it's just a flying bomb, really, that's launched off a ramp, and when it cuts out, it drops to the ground and blows up.
Dover is sticking it by a marvellous communal spirit. Everyone helps. The fire service is strong and efficient. The warden delivers the meat, the fruiterer is a policeman, the newsagent runs the first aid, the shop assistant drives an ambulance. The key of Britain is strong because its people are strong. The fact that they look across at Germany doesn't scare them a bit. And behind the front line, in the Garden of England, life goes on normally.
Once I got machine gunned because my mother had gone to the town to do some shopping, and I was left next door with my grandmother, and the siren had gone and the Germans had gone over, and I thought it was safe to go out in the yard, and I went down the bottom of the garden, and there must have been a stray German plane come over. And I ran up and going up the path into Nana's house, and it just started machine gunning. I think that was the worst of the war that I remember. I was absolutely terrified, screaming.
Well, one of these flying bombs, these doodlebugs, actually landed in a field near a church where I used to be a choir boy. And if something like that happened these days, then there would be an enormous great fence around it and police, etc. But it was just sitting there in the field. We went to have a look at it. Presumably it was safe and it didn't blow up. It didn't blow up while we were there anyway. But just to see this doodlebug sitting in the field next to the church was very interesting.
Not
You
really.
do, regarding this fire at Southampton?
Regarding what?
The fire that's at Southampton that you could see from where
Oh
you live.
yes, yeah. I can remember walking up onto the middle of the edge of the forest, which looked sort of down, and seeing Southampton on fire.
There was a boat was going up the end of the road to shoot the aeroplanes. And I went up there one day and I saw this chap sort of sitting in the ditch there, and he had these 2 pistols with him. And I was talking to him about these pistols, and he says, "You can have one if you like," he says, "but I can't give it to you till tomorrow night." So I went back the next night and he wasn't there. The doodlebug was coming across the other side of the airfield, and there's a Spitfire chasing it, and the Spitfire actually shot it. Well, you can't say he shot it down. He blew it up. He caused itself to blow up. The bomb went bang, and I was looking out the upstairs window with my mum, and with the wisdom of a youngster who's been in the war all the time, I knew there'd be a big strong puff of air coming along which might blow the windows in. So after a couple of seconds I ducked, and then the wind did hit the window, the force of the explosion hit the window, and my mum was standing by the open window and it knocked her back across the room, but it didn't blow the windows in. And I remember looking at my mum saying, "What's up with you? Why didn't you get out of the way?"
The battle of Britain is being won by the spirit of the people. Let war-scarred Dover have the last word. Well, Mrs. McEwen, are you leaving Dover?
What? For that rat Hitler? No fear. If they want us to go, they've got to throw us out. But still, you're wasting my time. I've got my dinner to cook. Goodbye.